Now, it's the inversed triangle of death. So I'll explain you now. It's coming up, how they inversed the European culture of the white man. I have problems making short videos, as you must have noticed. But 6 years ago, I made this short resume explaining how the white man was living in huts, as you can see here, in huts and tents, like Indians or African tribes. They couldn't read nor write, walked around in bearskins with a spear, trying to survive under harsh conditions, until these pharaohs came, who were the first in Europe to build in stone with their castles and Roman fortresses, and kept the white race the white man 1,000 years as slaves in a feudal system. These pharaonic Romans and later feudal pharaonic nobility genocided the white tribes, completely destroyed white man's culture, and replaced the white man's religion with Pharaoh's Middle Eastern religion called Christianity, for which their priests of Amun tortured the Europeans and burned their sacred women alive at the stakes. So it would be best to watch this 15 minutes resume here as an introduction to what I'm going to explain on how Pharaoh inverted white man's culture and entirely destroyed it. So here you can see these huts. It's in the film. It's on the same channel. So here you get this again, the AI, the censorship, which I'm trying to avoid, like by not saying this word anymore. I mean, what else can I do, So here's the title, and it's on the same channel. And I made it 6 years ago in October 2020, on a request actually. So here you see there are a lot of comments. You can put your comment there as well. And this is about the inversed speech and the inversed hand signs of the triangle of death, as all these politicians are doing, and in combination and in relation to how they destroy cultures through this secrecy, and as they did with the white man's culture, as well as all the other cultures, of course. It was a certain image by Pharaoh's nobility that caught my attention when I looked a bit further into that first gentleman stuff of the flatlands that I had picked up in the French news, which led to this octagon picture of the king of the flatlands, together with the actual NATO Secretary General, Mr. Rutte. So I'll explain you the picture, because it's quite complex, actually, what you see here. I'm even surprised myself. I got taught about these things when I was a child, back in the SA, and but this is very complex. So here you see the king of the flatlands, and here's the Secretary General of NATO, Mr. Rutte. I've showed you a lot of these things, with always the inner circle, and here's even an inner circle within the inner circle, and they are protected by the octagon. That's why mostly army badges, police badges are all octagonal. They're just there not to protect the people, but to protect these guys here, the inner circle. And of course, Mr. Rutte, he's also a pharaoh. Pharaohs usually, they are very thin, long hands. Well, I mean, look at them, Europeans, they are stronger, These guys, they were brought up like a river Nile, they didn't have to work very much, and etc. So normally the inner circle is protected by the octagon from the squares, and the squares stand for the people, which is the base of a pyramid, which is a square. But this, I've never seen this before, actually. We all recognize this symbol here, which is the seal of Solomon, King Solomon. So it's not the jaywalkers. The jaywalkers, they think it's them, but it's not. It only means that they are a slave of King Solomon and the descendants of King Solomon and King David, all these pharaohs. So this stands actually for the jaywalker nobility only. And why does the inner circle of these pharaohs need to be protected from the jaywalker nobility? Because when the jaywalkers came, they were chased by the Romans, first the people, and then when the people, the jaywalker nobility, they didn't have any more jaywalker people back in the Middle East to work for. So nobility, pharaohs, nobility, they never worked themselves. So they ran after their slaves, after their people, until they came into Europe. And of course, they gave all the proofs that they are far away pharaonic cousins of the same pharaonic nobility as these ones here. The per-a, the big pharaonic house, it means. Per, it means the house, and a, it means big. They're all over the world. So they could prove that, but the local nobility, these ones here, and in Germany and all that, and in France, they said all the land was already divided amongst the local nobility, and they didn't give them any land. So this is why these ones here, the jaywalker nobility, and they went into the financing business because they didn't have any land, and land was the only capital in those days, like in the Middle Ages and all that. And finally, there was the Industrial Revolution. They got rich, very rich, could buy themselves castles, and let their jaywalker slaves work for them, for the jaywalker nobility, of course. And as these ones here, the vertical rule in those days, they were already very much consolidated, had land and all this. The jaywalker nobility, like here the Seal of Solomon, they also wanted the revolution, of course, and the horizontal rule. That was the only way through which they could also have a little bit of power and like rule together. Because these ones, the vertical rule, they ruled only like one man. And the jaywalker nobility, these ones here, they wanted to also to rule. And the only way to do this was by a horizontal rule, a democracy, and a republic, where a lot of these pharaohs, thousands of them per country, they all work together. So they could, squeeze in and work together. And that's why these ones got very angry and finally led to the final solution and all this. So this is why the inner circle, it's red here, which is the red house of Pharaoh, which is Lower Egypt in the north, where the real pyramids are. And here it's white, like the White House. So this is the NWO and this is the OWO. This is like the White House. There was in Upper Egypt in the south. So they are nowadays around, because it's a constitutional monarchy. White is the constitution, it's the republic, and red here is the real monarchy. And inside there's even an inner circle, as you can see that. So these are also circles. So this is the lower nobility, the princes, because this is white is the principality. And they all needed to be defended because they wanted to have more power from these ones here. And here we see the fleur de lis, with this thing sticking out in the middle and two things here and here, which is also the symbol of the OWO, the vertical rule of Pharaoh's nobility. And so now this is what I wanted to tell you, which is important. So in this case, this one here stands for the Europeans. So the Europeans, in this case, more the religion of the original religion, or the original civilization, the original culture of the Europeans, and I'll explain that to you. So they put them together with these ones here, the Europeans and the jaywalker nobility, and considered the entire jaywalker people, for those who can't differentiate and don't know the real history of all things. So here I made the image a bit bigger. So it's about this symbol here. This is an ancient European symbol. It's Saxon, actually. Some of you already know what it is. So there are 8 of them here. So these ones here, they need to be protected from these ones here. And this is what I'm going to explain to you now, and that they inversed the European culture, really. It's quite complex, so give it all your attention here, because this is really crucial, if you know what I mean. So everything is there. It's really enormously complex, this here. And they're just standing on it with their feet. It's amazing, huh? There's probably a lot more to see here. Yes, this is sort of the sun hieroglyph with one in the middle and two on each side. Here it's vertical. Normally this one is longer and the inner one is smaller, but why not like this? You know, it's actually Horus, the wings of Horus. Just like the religion, the Middle Eastern religion they forced upon the Europeans, it's also about Horus, of course. It's all pharaonic, yeah. So red and white, everything is here, okay? Watch this and listen carefully. This is very important. So here you see this part here on the carpet, of which they are so afraid, you know, the octagon has to defend the inner circle from these ones here and also from these ones here. This one is even bigger, you see, and there are 8 of them. You all see that it is exactly these things here. They are Saxon and Germanic. It's the tree of life. And people call it Irminsul if you want to look it up. But the real name is Ormunsul, which I will explain to you now. So the image on Pharaoh's carpet in the flatlands and their abominations shows the image of the ancient Germanic belief system of protecting Mother Earth, whom they called Middelgard in ancient Saxon. Just like the Indians had and still have a very similar belief system, as all nature tribes did and some still do. These sacred pillars you see here are called Saxon Irminsul, but its real name is Ormunsul. Sul is like the present-day German Säule, meaning a pillar. And Orm is the old Germanic word for a snake or dragon. Just as in English, when you put a W in front of Orm, you get worm, which is like a snake. Therefore, the name of the sacred pillar of which the pharaohs and their carpets are so afraid of is Ormunsul and not Irminsul. And Orm, for worm or snake, is the Germanic world snake, or Middelgard Orm, the Midgard snake, around Mother Earth's Midgard to protect the universe, to protect like from the abominations of the flatlands and its very revealing carpet, expressing Pharaoh's inner fears of the white tribes rising up again. Therefore, 1200 years ago, Pharaonic Emperor Charlemagne, or Charles the Great, in the year 772, waged an extremely brutal 32-year war and genocide against the Saxons and their Ormunsul belief system in order to annihilate the last resisting white man's tribes, just as the masters did with the Indians 1,000 years later. This was the end of white man's freedom, who from there on had to work for Pharaoh's nobility, wage wars for them, and even help Pharaoh to annihilate other free peoples. It was a pharaonic reset of the white man, called the Horus Matrix, in which all Saxon fathers were genocided by Pharaoh Charlemagne's huge army, and then their sons, as small children, got raised by Pharaoh as perfect, obedient warriors, not knowing anymore what they were doing. Therefore, Pharaoh reverted this very dangerous Ormunsul symbol into Pharaoh's symbol for injustice, as you can see here. So you see, this is Lady Injustice, and you see it's the Ormunsul, this thing here, it's upside down. This is the inverse speech thing, and the thing Donnie is doing all the time with the upside down triangle of death and the upside down pyramid. This is exactly what it is. You know, they invert everything. This here is exactly this. You know, it's upside down. as Ormunsul meant justice and protection. When reversed upside down, the upside down version means injustice, the opposite, as it is reversed and upside down. It's all in the realm of magic, you know, like this, it means justice. Turn it upside down, it means injustice. And look at it, it's like it's a machine, you know. What are they? Extraterrestrials or metallic Luciferian sort of stuff, you know. It's not a coincidence they do this. It's no coincidence. They reverse everything. Like the whole situation today. What is normal is forbidden, and what is not normal is allowed or even compulsory. And we all know there is no justice in the Western world, and there is no human rights either. It's all a joke with their reversed speech and reversed pyramid of the triangle of death. It's time to revive Ormunsul, get back what is ours, and reinstall real justice in Pharaoh's world of abomination. In their pharaonic carpet, they show us, represented by the Germanic Ormunsul, as a coronavirus, a crown virus, as a grave danger to the crown, endangering Pharaoh's crown. Well, so be it, then. Good to know. So here in this picture you see Ormunsul. They turn it upside down here, and it became the statue of injustice. And this is the triangle of death, the inverse pyramid technique. I mean, why do you think these sort of pictures exist at all? Because these pharaohs believe in this. They know what it is. You don't make a picture just like this, you know, just out of fun. These are the initiated ones who make it, you know, these things, like all these sort of artworks, you know, on a roundabout and everywhere. So this is another example of Pharaoh's inverse pyramid technique, where they have taken religious symbols of the conquered and destroyed white man's indigenous tribes and turned them into systems of oppression as their injustice monument, representing, in fact, the pharaonic goddess Ma'at. So the invaders replaced indigenous values with their own, and through terror forced the northern European tribes to believe in Horus and his mother Isis. This is Pharaoh's technique of the inversed pyramid and triangle of death, destroying all cultures and all indigenous tribes in creating one world pharaonic religion for a totally mixed up humanity. So here I added this picture. It's in copper, and it's somewhere in a church in Germany. And you see here the Ormunsul, from the word orm, like worm, a worm. And here you see, it says here, Karl der Große, Karl the Great, there he is. So Karl, in the year 772, here they came, and this is some sort of a saint here. So Karl the Great, he came, destroyed the culture and their belief system and replaced it with the Horus religion here, you know, with the sun behind it, as Horus is the eye of the sun. So they completely destroyed the white man, who were just tribes like the Indians and like African tribes, you know, and they even made them work for Pharaoh. So white man is the most terrorized race and the most enslaved race in the entire history and the entire world, who have been enslaved for about 2,000 years now. They have no more roots. It's first of all, Karl the Great, he was in nowadays France, the Franks. And they were already defeated, the Franks, you know, by the Romans. They did a terrible genocide on the Celts, les Gaulois, murdered everyone, women, children, everyone. So this is why what was left of it, they did the Horus matrix, killed all the fathers, and they raised the kids, you know, as their own, which is a well-known fact that the Romans were doing these sort of things. And then they had the sons of the Franks, no more fathers, they could completely shape them again and made warriors out of them and destroy the next cultures using the sons of the Franks, the sons of their dead fathers. And they destroyed, you know, the last white man's tribes, more in the north and more into the east. They were the Germanic tribes. And they did the same here, again, the Horus matrix, and so on and so forth. And killed the fathers again, kept the sons, just as the Nazis did, you know, put all these little kids, you know, in the Hitler Youth, and all the fathers were dead after the First World War, and they could raise them from scratch again. This is the Horus matrix. So they can use them and destroy other cultures, as we can see it happening now in Iran. Same thing over and over again, until it's just one world, Horus religion, ISIS religion with Ma'at. This was justice, you know, respect and the respect of nature and Mother Earth. And they turn it around, as some people say, you know, the evil one, the great deceiver or Satan. He uses reverse speech. Well, this is the reverse thing, you know. And they made out of a statue of respect and justice and honor Mother Earth. They turn it around and they make this out of it. And this is Ma'at, the pharaonic goddess. It basically is the statue of injustice. I mean, me, homie Hross, I've been terrorized for 30 years, and they make it big on a pedestal, as you can see here. Yeah, the West, it's all about justice. No, forget about it. So here it says Executive Order 14147 of January 20th. As Donny practices the inverted pyramid psychology and the hand sign of the inverted pyramid, it is best to take the opposite from what he says. As the very first Executive Order 14147 on his first day in office, saying, ending the weaponization of the federal government, about which we can all see the opposite happening, with heavily armed Icemen of that federal government gunning down Americans. So this is the inverse speech. They say one thing and they do the other. There is Executive Order 14147 saying ending the weaponization of the federal government. Does that look like it? Come on, open your eyes. You know, and this is what Donny is showing with his hands, with the inverted pyramid. I mean, that means the inverse speech. On the first day in office, he says, we're going to end the weaponization of the federal government. And the next day, you see this going on. So he's showing with his hands to all his pals, you know, don't listen to what I say. You know, I just want the dumb slaves to believe this, that I'm going to end the weaponization of the federal government. I'm going to do the other side. So then he shows the triangle of death. So the best way, you know, to treat it, what a politician is saying, take the opposite. Then you're nearest to the truth. You know? And Donny S.T.U.P.O, he just wants your consent for this here. And they just try to gain time until they are more prepared. And innocent civilians, as you can see here, are being held and tortured and murdered by the federal government. As the case, for example, of Irish citizen Seamus Coulton, as you can hear for yourselves. In this video made in the Irish Parliament called Irish Citizens Tortured by ICE on channel Ivana Bacik. So she's a member of Parliament. Here's the video and the channel. Here you can read about it. Yeah. So already 250,000 people have seen this. Well, that's a nice publicity for America, isn't it? People are going to react, you know. What do you think might happen to an American tourist now going to Ireland, eh? What do you think is going to happen? Think about that. There's even the construction of a huge forced labor concentration camp with 1,300 beds in Utah for homeless persons. Well, I don't know if this is the right picture. I don't think it is, but it looks all similar, and I still have this picture, so I just used it, the one I already had. And this is another ICE camp, but you can look it up in the internet. I could have taken it, but I really don't want to waste very much more time on all this. You have to sort it out yourselves. So here you can see the Executive Order 14147 of January 20th, 2025, ending the weaponization of the federal government. And well, I'll let you read it yourself. But apparently, there were people protesting and they got hassled by the police and the authorities. And I guess, some fundamentalist Christians protested, so Donny made the Executive Order 14147, and also to have people vote for him and believe in him. And it says here, including those activities directed at parents protesting at school board meetings, Americans who spoke out against the previous administration's actions, and other Americans who simply exercises constitutionally protected rights. So people were protesting and they got hassled by the authorities. So Donny made this executive order. And then a year later, and even right the summer after it, 2025, people were protesting and they were all beaten up by ICE. And so you see, it's one lie after the other. Look, this is S.T.U.P.O's signature. And you can read it yourself, And this is the inversed speech of the inversed pyramid, as he is showing with his hands. So he's saying Executive Order 14147, we make everything nice. And with his hands, he shows the inversed pyramid. That means to his pals and of the same Per-A family, pharaohs. Well, don't believe it, what I'm telling you. Don't believe Executive Order 14147 because I'm going to do the opposite. As we can all witness, the whole world can witness it, what ICE is doing. And it is international now. Maybe some Americans say, well, it's not your problem, it's our problem. No, it isn't. You're torturing Irish persons and German persons and people from Europe are in your concentration camps. No, it isn't a national thing. It is international. And we don't want it getting it over in Europe as the ICE were already in Italy. And thank God ICE didn't go to France. I tell you, they would have gotten serious beaten up if ICE would come to France. Oh, I tell you, don't come to France, ICE. Number 3, Executive Order 14149, restoring freedom of speech and ending federal censorship, which is another inversed pyramid, because Donny could have liberated the poor Julian Assange, incarcerated on US orders for the crimes of journalism and for exercising that very right to free speech and the First Amendment. So it says Executive Order 14149, freedom of speech and end federal censorship. So at that time, Donny, he was the president. He could have liberated the poor man who didn't do anything wrong. But instead of that, Biden liberated him. President Biden liberated Julian Assange. Probably because he knew, well, if Donny S.T.U.P.O becomes the president, this poor man, he will never get liberated. So before there was the Executive Order 14149, he already got liberated. So Donny can't say, well, I couldn't do it because the Executive Order of freedom of speech wasn't there yet. It's all inverse speech. They say one thing and they do the other. And most of all, they say just what the dumb slaves want to hear, so then they are quiet, and then they do the opposite. It's all inverse hand signs, that's all what it is, the inverse triangle of death, and they're even showing it, people, that's all what it is about. So here, Executive Order 14149, restoring freedom of speech. What do you mean restoring? You mean there wasn't any freedom of speech before and now all of a sudden there is? And ending federal censorship. You mean there was federal censorship? So you see, they're admitting that even that before there was no freedom of speech and there was censorship, federal censorship, that is. But it's not going to change anything. No. Here, January 20th, 2025, by POTUS or S.T.U.P.O, as the anagram goes. Well, I stop reading them as they are all inversed psyops anyway. So here it says the book of inversed psyops. And this is the inversed stuff. This is what it means. So the above ground pyramid is what we see, whereas the inversed pyramid is under the ground and invisible, like the true meaning behind the inversed speech or where the dead bodies are under the ground. So here you see the normal pyramid, here's the inversed pyramid, which looks like this. This is the inverse pyramid, and here the normal pyramid. And this is why they do these hand signs and the inverse triangle of death on the concentration camps, etc., etc. The inversed pyramid stands both for death and for the inversed speech psyop. And when you believe the inversed speech, the direct consequence will be death anyway. So here you can see this here, what he's doing is this. And this here, what he says, is the opposite. That's this. This is visible, what he says, and the pyramid here. So you can draw a line here over, in the middle of his body. And this is what he's telling his pals, the opposite, death, the inverse pyramid, which is this here on top. It's the other way around here, but it's a nice picture. And this is, of course, the pyramid, like here and like here. So his nose, we could say, is the pyramid here. This is how you can remember it. And here you got a red tie, for the OWO, the Red House of Pharaoh, in a white underground. So it says there constitutional monarchy, if you want, because he is of the nobility, as I've shown you. So remember this. This here is this, and it means death. And it means invisible here. It's underneath, it's underneath the belt, so to speak. And this is above the belt here. So don't listen to what he says, because what he meant is this here. And that's why he does this. So you see, they're all doing it. This is Donnie's second son by the name of Eric Trump. And he's also doing it. I mean, these are pharaonic bloodlines. It's, the Per-A for Pharaoh, it means the big house. It's one big family. A house like in a royal house, like in a family. They're all the same here. So I repeat, this here, the inverse pyramid is this. And above the belt is what they say. It's what you see. This is what the dumb slaves see, and this is what the dumb slaves hear. But under the belt is what you don't hear, but it's what homie Hross is telling you is this here. And it's death. And it's this one here. And the other one above is this one. So don't forget this. This is a nice picture, actually, because this is how optically it's a good way to explain it to you. And this is what it really is, If you look under the pyramids, there's this here, this one here, the inverse pyramid. And there's a lot of death going on there, and this is why. So they say this here, even he's doing it, they're all doing it. So why are you still believing them, Why you only believe what is visible? You must start to believe what is not visible. Be spiritual, use your sixth sense. Because all the other five senses, it just doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. It will just, there's one war after the other. Our children die, They're completely destroying the earth and everything. Don't believe anymore what's visible here and here, the visible mouth, the visible nice smile and MAGA and we are so friendly. No, start believing what is invisible, this here and this here. For most people, this is invisible, even if they see it, even if I'm telling you since the last 15 years, it's still invisible. Because most people forget it. The dumb slaves, they forget everything, you know. And they fall into this magic realm of these ones here, and the nice costumes, the nice ties, and a lot of money, and, you know, the whole propaganda and PR. People forget it every time. Now, what you all tattling on inverse hamburgers and whatnot? It ain't nothing wrong. It's just Donnie's tight grip on a hamburger. Oh, God save America and the hamburger. Have you noticed how Donnie, since he's in office, he hasn't used the inverse speech of the inversed pyramid S.T.U.P.O anymore by saying MAGA, nor God. Since he's been elected, he doesn't need to sell that MAGA thing anymore, which was phase 1, and in fact, he never says it anymore, as phase 1 is terminated. It has been terminated, thus entering phase 2 of the inversed pyramid, which is death. So there are 2 steps concerning the inversed pyramid method. Step 1 is inversed speech, and step 2 is the inversed death triangle. The master's agenda is still the same. Mix all peoples, advocate pink list killers, destroy masculinity, total control over humanity, and possibly install the Islam world religion, for which Americans have been made predispositioned, as they're all circumcised, making them half Muslims already.